dig a hole, throw some snags in it, fill it up, and stock it with something.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Deep Drop for another jam-packed, action-packed, fun-filled show. I don't know, Ads. Is there any other little taglines I've forgotten there?
No, we'll roll with that. Happy with that.
Okay, good. This is a fishing podcast, and I welcome every single one of you having a listen. If you're new here, welcome. It's great to have you on board. There's plenty of other episodes to get through if you want to go back through and have a listen. If you've been here before and checked it all out, welcome back. It's good to have you back on board. I'm Luke McCredden. Adam Ring is with me as always, and Ads, I don't think there's much need for drag this intro out much longer. Should we just dive in?
Nah, let's get straight into it.
Is there a species that can't be caught on top water?
A couple of exclusions straight away, Luke. We're talking about fish that anglers would actually want to catch. So, like stingrays and stuff. Like, there's going to be some
toadies.
Toadies.
You probably could.
That was actually going to be one of my answers.
Yeah.
So fish that you would actively target or do actively target.
Yeah.
One that you can think of that can't be caught on top water. And I think there's one like just massively obvious.
Mm.
And I'm saying that because I really, really want someone to prove me wrong, and then I really, really want them to teach me how. King George whiting.
Yeah. And look, we should say off the top too, a lot of our audience is Victoria, New South Wales, and a few in the Tassie area too. So we're going to focus on the southern part of the country for I think for this particular topic, Ads. King George whiting, it's a great one to start with. Wouldn't it be fantastic?
For Luke, us in Vic, King George whiting I think is the massive standout. And how broad do we open this question up to everyone? Are we saying, has anyone out there fluked a King George whiting on top water? Or is it something you've put enough time into to work out? I don't think you could ever consistently catch King George whiting on top water, but do you think you could ever get it to a point where you would put aside a couple of hours of a session on a specific tide to only throw top water?
If it was a doable thing and you knew that it was a small window or small chance to do it, you'd have a crack. If you knew it was possible, for sure you'd put some time in, for sure.
100%.
But I think it's a case of you need to know that you're in with a shot. And maybe that's the thing. Maybe there hasn't been that much effort put into King George whiting. And how do you start? Because you know that there's such a great feed. You just want to get a few for a feed, so you know the best way to do it. It'll take someone who's just got time on their hands and just wants something to do and finds them in shallow enough water, I would imagine.
Yep. Yeah. That's right. Someone who lives really close where they can just quickly walk down on any specific tide. But look at King George whiting. When I say catch them on top water, I mean any means possible. You don't have to use like a top water blooping lure or a walk the dog style thing. Like, because straight away when I think of whiting, if it's going to be done, I reckon it's going to be on an unweighted worm.
Yeah, just getting dragged across the top.
Yeah, if you can work out how to get some sort of action in a plastic worm or something like that.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I've actually never ever seen a King George whiting in all my years. I've never seen a King George whiting caught on a top water lure.
This is a great subject for our audience because I know that we've got lots of passionate top water anglers, and you know traditionally it's the more pelagic species, but the estuary top water thing has been huge over the last decade as well. But I reckon there might be someone who knows a guy who knew a guy who knows a guy.
Yeah, for sure. That's what this game does. That's what it's all about.
But we know one thing, and well, let's not just focus on whiting, but just lastly with the King George whiting, we know that they do have a bit of aggression in them because they will hit moving targets. Definitely there. They will hit moving targets, and they've been caught on hard bodies randomly and soft plastics. Yep. I think it's an option. I think I'd love for someone to just commit like a whole, spring, summer season just doing it to see if they can get one.
But even you cycle down the list of stuff that we would regularly encounter in Vic. So King George whiting, definite. Have you ever caught a silver trevally on anything topwater?
I haven't personally, but surely.
Surely, you'd think so, but I can't remember.
Yeah.
But then again, silver trevally seem to be more of a bycatch down here. You don't really, even if someone was twitching away at Lake Tyers or something for brim and a silver trevally ate it, no one's really going to be stoked to show, unless it's big.
Yeah.
Well, what about snapper?
Well,
have you ever caught snapper on top water?
No, but that fascinates me because there's certain elements where I just look at them and think about them and think for sure they would if in the right circumstances. We've had it fairly close to the surface in Port Phillip Bay ads. I think you were with me when they were really chewing hard and were chucking everything.
As soon as the bait hit the water, it was on.
Yeah.
It felt like anyway.
So in those situations, and they're so hard to predict, I think you just got to come across those situations. But maybe, honestly, maybe. The other one for me, and I've thought about this for years, and I reckon those particular times of year when they push up hard, high up in Western Port and they're really shallow and they're aggressively feeding, I reckon there'd be opportunity maybe at night. If you were to drag something across the top, and again, it doesn't have to be a big blooping popper. It could be like, like you do with tuna and kingfish with sluggos and that sort of thing and just stripping it across the surface. I reckon you'd be a massive chance with snapper. And I reckon someone out there will tell us that they've seen it done, whether it's there or just in general with snapper topwater. I think, I don't know, maybe not, but I'd love to think so because that would be cool.
You'd think so because you do catch snapper in pretty well all parts of the water column. I just wonder if they'd commit hard enough for them to show you the take, if that makes sense.
Mate, if it got to the point where that was a viable thing, that would just about be all I'd do.
Oh, mate.
Now, the other one, and mate, this might be a thing. I don't know because I'm not well versed in mulloway. But do dewies ever get taken fishing topwater?
Definitely. I reckon I've seen a bit of that in particular on the south coast of New South Wales.
Okay.
I've definitely seen it because I think Worst Thing did an episode of iFish somewhere, and they were getting them on subwalks. I'm pretty sure.
Right. Okay.
Or it was maybe it was just a sinking lipless stick bait. I'm not 100% sure.
Yeah.
But look, I'm sure that could be that. But I'm sure it would have to. I've never seen it. I've never done it. But I've heard a million stories. But again, that I've never seen it.
What we're doing is convincing ourselves that every fish can be taken on topwater.
Look, I'm making a list of stuff to put aside, and if we get a chance over the summer holidays, we're going to just chuck topwater and just see what eats it.
The question remains, is there a species that can't be caught on topwater? And it's like you said, we're talking, when we're taking out of the equation things like rays and all that sort of thing, but and even sharks to a degree because,
true.
Even though
you're not going to get a gummy shark to eat off the top. I wouldn't.
No, I wouldn't have thought so. You could potentially get a mako to hit something stripped across the surface when they're in that sort of feeding mode. But I don't think. Well, I think what we want the answer to be is there is no species that can't be taken on top.
That's what I'd love to think.
Yeah, let's throw this out there to our friends on Instagram because this is where we get the great engagement, and this is where we learn ads because this is what we're about. We're not certainly here telling anyone facts and figures. This is just our thoughts. But Instagram. Go find the deep drop, get in touch, find this tile that asks the question, is there a species that can't be caught on topwater? And tell us what you think. Is there something that's just not possible? But also King George whiting, snapper, mulloway, silver trevally. Tell us.
Show us. Yeah, show us. And what I mean by the definition of topwater, it breaks the surface to eat that lure.
Yes.
Yeah. It's not just a subsurface thing where you kind of just get a little bit of a swirl on the take as it breaks the surface
to eat it. Yep.
To eat that lure or plastic or whatever it may be. Hell, do it on a bait. I'll take it on a bait. If you can catch a snapper off the top and you see it come up and eat that bait and it breaks the surface, that counts.
Yeah.
That's essentially topwater.
Love that. And if you've mastered any of those species we've mentioned,
take me.
Just slide into our DMs. We'll keep it quiet. And take us, for God's sake. Should fishing be in the Olympics?
I'm glad you asked, Luke. Because in my opinion, I can't believe it's not. Because I'm going to read a list of 6 useless sports
Good.
that featured in the 2020 Olympics. Okay? Artistic swimming. I don't even know what that is. So it shouldn't be in there. Golf, not an Olympic sport. Just saying. Sorry to the golfers. But if golf's in there, fishing has to be in there. I kind of feel as though they're in the same league of hobby.
Fair call.
Handball. It's not a sport. You play that stuff at lunchtime in PE class at high school. So I'm not having it. Skateboarding, seriously.
No.
I don't have to justify that. Break dancing.
No, it wasn't.
100%. Check it. Break dancing. It's actually listed as breaking. That's all it says. I had to click on it to actually find out what it was. So they can't even get the name right. And rock climbing.
Yeah.
Seriously. Rock climbing. You do that stuff at a kid's party when they strap you to those things and you look at it and go, I'm way too high to be like, as in like high in the air. To like, I'm not getting down. A fully grown human's going to have to come up here and remove me from this platform. That's in the Olympics.
Yeah. If they're setting the benchmark there, mate, fishing has to be in there, doesn't it?
It has to be. And I want full commitment by any country that has scored the Olympics for the next forever. If you do not have somewhere to fish in your general area to host fishing, dig a hole, throw some snags in it, fill it up, and stock it with something.
Yeah. Do you know... Do you know what, though? And this is what happens in a lot of these host cities. They might not even have the infrastructure for some of these events. They do it in...
Then they can't host the Olympics.
No, but they don't. They do it in the next nearest city that has something for it. So fishing's... There's no excuse.
No.
And I love your examples there because I, too, made a list tonight, Ads, but my list was just purely based on the last half a dozen Olympic Games and where they were. And if we take it back to, 2020, which ended up being 2021, I think, Tokyo, squid fishing in Japan. Bang.
Exactly.
Rio.
And they love their bass fishing over there. They already have bass tournaments. It's set up.
Yeah. 2016 Rio, I mean, please. South America, Brazil, peacock bass.
Just say yes.
Arapaima.
Pick something.
There's so many options in those rivers. 2012 London, I mean, trout, salmon. But whatever, it's still,
Carp, whatever.
Yeah, carp. 2008 Beijing, not sure. I'm not sure. Not sure.
We can work something out.
Yeah. 2004 Athens. I mean, Greece. Amazing game fishing off the
That's
the
right.
coast.
Yellowfin tuna.
Exactly. 2000 Sydney. I mean, whatever. We could do bass and brim and pick up on the
silver
tournaments
Jurali on
wherever.
top water. Like,
and
whatever.
I think the beauty is you adapt it to where you are. So wherever the Olympic Games are being held, countries have got to bring anglers accordingly. So if you're doing a bass or brim tournament in Australia and the following year it's in Athens and it's an offshore thing, bring your blue water anglers. And
Exactly.
yeah, I can't see why
it can work. It would take some thought. I'm not saying but it could work. And I actually can't believe it's not in there after some of the average pastimes.
Maybe that's the issue. You just said it could take some thought. Clearly, if breakdancing and skateboarding and rock climbing is in there, which takes zero thought, that's where they're at. They're like, we don't want to think about these events.
They're just throwing sports in willy-nilly.
Yeah.
Now, listen, I am a basketball fanatic.
Yeah.
I love it. But I could make an argument that 3-on-3 basketball shouldn't be in there.
It shouldn't be in there. It's ridiculous.
No. Why does it need to be in there if we've already got actual basketball in there?
I reckon the meetings, it's just, guys, we need one more sport. Shit, Kevin, come up with a sport. Basketball. We've already got basketball. Make it 3-on-3. Okay, done.
Done. Lock it in. Fishing. We've just made it up. Like, it's got to happen. I actually can't believe some form of fishing is not already in there.
Okay. Well, I think we pen a letter. I think the Deep Drop pens a letter to the IOC and just with the please explain firstly, and then get it happening.
Yeah, just do it. Just say yes.
Yeah, just say yes. It's not that hard.
What's the worst could happen?
Adam, should fishing be in the Olympics?
Yes. Hard yes.
What are you watching on YouTube?
I'm probably the worst person to ask this question to because I do watch YouTube a lot. I do. But I'm so wishy-washy with what I watch. There's not too many things that I subscribe to and just have to watch every episode. I'm also not one that sits down and will find a 45-minute fishing video and be inclined to sit there and watch it. So I like a lot of local stuff.
Yep.
But only if those thumbnails and descriptions are something that I would be interested in doing. Yeah. If that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah. And look, I think this is the beauty of YouTube, right? So you don't have to commit to anything. You can watch 5 minutes of something, you can watch 60 minutes of something, but you can also get really stuck in a particular channel and a show because it's awesome. And then, because this happens to me, and then I sort of get a bit, not over it completely, but just like I need a change of what I'm watching. So
you just find the next thing.
So then I find the next thing, but then come back to it. Like it's not, it's nothing that, you can't keep coming back to. And I think that's the beauty of it. The regularity of uploads by some of these channels means there's always something fresh that you can go back to, even if you haven't watched it for a few months or something. I'm a real sucker for this is weird because we've put shit on fly fishermen for a few times throughout this podcast ads. Well,
listen, we probably will again in future episodes.
But I love a couple of international YouTube channels that are fly fishing, but I think it's because of the actual footage and the effort they go to create their productions. There's one that I always send you to watch, and I still don't think you have, and it's called...
And I probably won't.
No, Wildfly Productions. A bunch of dudes just doing their thing who have a bit of a skill in filmmaking, and they just do really cool stuff, but the way they shoot it and the way they put it together is really cool, and I love that. And then another one from New Zealand called Trout Hunting New Zealand, and it's pretty much a dude with a couple of cameras and... But that one for me, and he seems like a cool dude, but is totally about the rivers they fish. Those rivers in New Zealand, man, come on, like stunning.
Yeah, I'm not much a sucker for scenery. And the only fly fishing stuff that I watched, and don't get me wrong, I legitimately watched the hell out of this and was screaming for more once I had watched everything and couldn't find it. The dudes from GeoBass that did that traveling the world trying to tick off all these species of bass on fly was incredible. Yeah. As a matter of fact, it is probably all time. It'd easily be top 3 all-time fishing content I've watched on YouTube out of everything I've ever watched. I really did enjoy that massively.
Yeah. That was almost first of its kind in a lot of ways because it was very raw and dudes saying it how it is and doing their thing, and there was a lot of shaky handheld footage, but then wicked shots and really, really cool footage as well. But it was a combination of all of that. There was a bit of relatability to it, and they were having a crack, and it was
so
cool,
good.
So cool.
Yeah.
Obviously, you and I have spoken on the show a couple of times about Matt Watson in New Zealand. Ultimate Fishing on YouTube is something that's regularly on my screen. Can't get enough of that. And while we're in New Zealand, The Lateral Line is a really cool, fun show to watch as well. But Ads, you're local. You love the local stuff. I do too.
Yeah,
give us a few of your local faves.
I really love what Nev's doing. I think he does a great job at keeping it easy to watch. I think some content can get a little bit unnecessarily overwhelming. I think his stuff's really good.
He presents well, doesn't he?
He does. Yeah, he does. And same with Alan Benici from I think it's Madfish. He does some really cool little bits and pieces that I haven't necessarily seen too much of, whether there was, catching big redfin in local impoundments, or he did a whiting on soft plastics in Port Phillip Bay, which was really interesting. So I like his stuff, and he's a hell of a nice guy too. So the young boys from Mad Dog Fishing Adventures, they try to do more of a television show based around YouTube. I know those two personally. They're great young lads, and I like seeing their progression more than anything. They're finding their feet in what they like to do, and they're documenting it all on film. So I do enjoy what they're doing. It's cool to see their progression as they keep going as well. So they're probably the three main, and Winger's had some amazing stuff with U-Fish over the years. Dave and Adrian have got some really cool local stuff from
Wind Against Tide.
Wind Against Tide. So, and they're starting to do more in that video space, and that is going to be, I think that's going to set them apart a little bit from a lot of other content. They have some unbelievable experience locally and abroad, but mainly locally, and they're also they're spending a lot of time working out how to film things properly so that it makes sense and it's easy to watch. So that's going to be a future one, I think, that's going to take off. There's so much. I've probably left out a few that I really enjoy.
Well, one that we've spoken about in the past is Leuben Pfeiffer's The Full Scale.
Yes.
That's a really cool show. And Leuben just presents well and just sort of talks. What I like about what he does is, and we know how experienced and how good an angler he is, but he talks while he's fishing. So he's sort of explaining things as he goes, which for me is like, okay, especially with the freshwater stuff, which I haven't done a hell of a lot of. I'm like, yeah, right, okay, that makes sense. Another guy who I love, he's just a friendly fellow and very instructional the way he presents as well, is Robbie Alexander. His channel's great to watch. Yeah. You're constantly learning things and having a bit of a laugh with Robbie, and he's pretty raw. Like, he just does it. He doesn't have all the fancy gear. He just does what he does and has a bit of fun with it, but very enjoyable. But there's so much, even up north. There's a whole stack of channels from up north that do such a great job. Our point here is there is just so much.
There's heaps.
Whether it's
just
local
start clicking
content,
on stuff.
International content, stuff from around Australia, because there's a shitload of stuff from the northern part of Australia that people do so well, which is very inspiring. And
the production quality is so good now.
So good. And we could go on about it for bloody ever, but we won't. We've got to leave it there, Ads, because we're getting a bit carried away. No, we're not. We're having fun.
It's too much.
Hey,
too much.
Thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in to The Deep Drop. We really appreciate it, and we appreciate your feedback on Instagram, The Deep Drop. Find us. Make a comment on any of the tiles that you see that you think might interest you, and tell your mates about it. Share the love, because that's what it's about, Ads. We're just having a bit of fun, sharing the love, and we'll be back at it again.